Hi everyone. As most of you know, myself, Rajesh Suguru. I'm Chief Executive Officer of Digital Disruption Technologies. We got our startup in UK, Singapore, and in India. We are majorly into the consulting services, and we are focusing on the product development in the recent days in alliance with IDS, D-Risk, and many other product development companies. Right. And today's topic is DevOps and data science at scale. Can someone say what does it mean by at scale? Or can someone describe what does it mean by at scale? Any of you? Any thoughts on this?
Actually, it start from basic to advanced.
Yeah, that's correct. Any more thoughts on this? Or any example that you would like to take? At scale means, what does it mean by?
I think the speed and velocity at which we want to deploy and test the things, and B, the volume of the data that we want to process. That's how I interpreted the scale.
Excellent, Raghu. Yeah, that's true. Okay, let's take an example. So basically, why do we need to do anything at scale, right? Because of the customer expectations, those are changing dynamically, and the market expansion capabilities that we need to enter into various markets, and the dynamics of the markets, meaning like it changes so quickly, and where there is a chances that we need to adopt to the latest things so quickly to win in the market. For example, let's take the vaccination example, right? So COVID, the most useful use case here. So at the time of COVID started, let's say your senior management vision is to deliver 10 million of vaccinations to the market within 1 year time, to make sure that to capture the most of the pharmaceutical market at that point in time. And here, actually, your senior management, if you are able to see a complete enterprise architecture, your senior management has set their vision that they have to deliver around like 10 million of vessels. Let's change it to 10 million to make it as a huge volume, right? And they said this has to be delivered within 1 year. So for these 10 millions, they set like almost $10 billion as the budget, which is like an annual budget allocated. So let's say in waterfall methodology that if we follow, is it possible to switch or agile in different times? Basically, let's say after 2 months, we know that there is a new variant is in the market, and already you are in the process of deploying and delivering kind of like 100K or like at least 1 million vessels. And is it possible to switch your formula dynamically at this scale? Scale is like almost 10 million, right? So scale, when you say, it is like the topmost, in the sense like it is a huge volume, as someone said just now. It is the volumes that we are talking about, volumes of deliveries, volumes of the value that we are delivering, and volume of the returns that we are going to get in, and so on. So let's say, like, what is the key KPI of the senior management that you can think of? What is the key KPI of the senior management when they set their vision? Can anyone say something about it? Key KPI, it's return on investment, right? It's the revenues that it is going to generate to the organization. It's the profits that they are going to make because of the budget that they are going to allocate for this year, right? To serve almost like 10 million customers, to vaccinate 10 million citizens. Obviously, they have to invest in the billions of dollars, and that's the vision that they set here when you look at the organization. And can someone say where all you can see data science and DevOps in here, in this big picture? Where all you can see data science possibilities, and where all you can see DevOps possibilities in this big picture? Anyone?
Yeah, that is in this agile product delivery down the line, continuous development pipeline.
And here you can see DevOps, right? It's at the
Yeah.
down the line, which is in the essential. So most of the organizations currently, the maturity levels of the organizations is here, where you can see DevOps and team level backlogs and program level backlogs at max. And most of us works in these areas. And whereas the organizational transformation is far beyond this. And where all you can see data science in this. DevOps is great. And where all you can see data science. Anyone? Prasad?
I think, yeah. It must be actually in the delivery pipeline.
In the delivery pipeline. Okay. And if you ask me, I can see everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? I can see everywhere. When this initiation taken by the senior management, the first and foremost step is collecting the data and performing the analysis on the data. And what sort of data that we need, like how many citizens that we are going to serve and what age group, and what are the vulnerabilities of for different category of the health conditions, and so on. The list continues, right? So the first step is to understand the market, and that's where the data science starts. So that like we need to have enough data to evident that why we need 10 million or vaccinations to be delivered, and what is the assurance that we are going to get to deliver these 10 million vaccinations, right? So it starts from there, and then the research and development team, they have to perform a lot of analytics behind the scenes to develop the molecule which can serve for the purpose. And then the productionizing team, they should have their own data analytics team where they perform data science around it and has to deliver the volume of vaccines, those they committed for this particular quarter. And obviously the complete supply chain after manufacturing is done. Again, there are different areas where you can see this data science is in place. And it is up to us where our passion lies and what roles that we need to be in. Is it at portfolio level where budget and money plays very important role? Or is it at the program level where value of delivery is playing very important role? Or at the team level where a pure technical deliveries comes into picture and where you are going to work on the team backlog, such as kind of like user stories, right? So, and of course, the DevOps plays very important role at the program and team level. And when we deliver the value, actual value in the technical or in the technical grounds, actually, for that matter. So when you look at this, so, and obviously, can someone say what is the difference between participatory budget and the annual budget? Why I am coming to this, because like now we are going to deep dive into the purpose, why this project exists to that level, and how who is going to fund and what stages that they are going to fund, what are the latest way of delivering, what is the latest way of funding these programs or initiations. So if we know this, when we look at the job description, it will be very easy for us to understand what might be the reason behind, and it is very good for us to present ourselves as a better data scientist and who can present ourselves as a great value add for their initiations, right? So can someone say what is the key KPI of the program manager in the data science world?
KPA of the program manager is something like
It comes here. And of course, the equivalent role, or like, let's take one step back, the key difference between waterfall and agile. Can someone start from there? Prasad, please share your thoughts here.
I have no idea on this.
Okay. So usually
Yeah,
like what?
it-
Yes,
yeah.
Shiva, please go ahead.
Yeah, when it goes to agile, like faster to the market, that's the one of the key KPI,
Mhm.
and also great customer experience.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah,
And what are
in
the advantages that it is going to brought to the senior management, at least to the organization, by being agile?
yeah, by going with this, like it has the possibilities to take like dynamic changes without spending much on reinventing the wheel.
Excellent. Yeah.
Because
So
if you go
as
with waterfall, you have everything planned, and suppose if you need to do some changes again, you have to come back with previous phases. Whereas in agile, wherever there is any dynamic changes coming in, so we can pass there, or we can immediately take that whatever is high priority and which will give like more ROI, and based on that they can proceed further. The flexibility will be there in agile.
excellent. Yes, that's the key purpose, right? So basically like hitting the market as quickly as possible and receiving early feedback of the customer and enhancing and like decommissioning some of the features which are like not that great, right? So enhancing the features which are going to add great value to the customer. So in our case, the basic version of the vaccination is released, and we can plan for like at least 100K vaccinations can be released as a phase 1, and which can be delivered within 1 month by taking research and development consents and considerations, recommendations into considerations. And once we deliver that 100K vaccinations, we know that we are going to receive the feedback from the customer or what are all the implications that they faced after they take the vaccination. And based on that, for the next iteration, we can always go back and enhance our vaccination. So the continuous enhancement, which is like, again, like the DevOps basic principles, continuous exploration by releasing the product early into the market, working product or working software in our case, or like in our case, it is working vaccination, and receiving early feedback from the customer, and then making sure the adjustments has to be done in terms of enhancements and kind of decommissioning or whatever or features are least value adding, and then making sure that all the features based on the priorities releasing to the market in the next cycle. So that's where DevOps plays very important role. So the biggest advantage here is the sunk cost. You are going to save a lot of sunk cost. Let's say in our initial vision, the 10 million vaccinations, if we won't release our product to the market until we develop 10 million vaccinations, and by the time we reach to the market, there might be new variant, which might not be work with the vaccination that we are delivering to the market. And we will be losing the market because if our competitor delivers well in advance and able to work on the enhancements. And early return on investment is again key benefit of the agile compared to the any our legacy waterfall method, because in our legacy waterfall method, it's 1 year is the time where the product hits the market, and whereas like in our agile, it might be like few months, might be like first quarter within 2 to 3 months time that hits the market, and the branding established based on that, right? So early return on investment is very important, and at the same time, it is adopting based on the market conditions, our product adopting or like enhancing based on the market conditions. So now your data analytics team and the data science team done their analysis and they made their report on the demand of the market. And what else we can do, like in the complete supply chain, right? So let's look at this complete flow. How does this works? So usually this epics is at the portfolio level. As I said, like senior management set their strategic themes, and then at the portfolio level, they set the epics. And epics basically covers the high level return on investments and the high level deliveries that we have to make to add value to the customers. And once the senior management set their epics, that goes to the program level. In the program level, they always bother about the features that we are delivering. It's not about the user stories. And then that flows to the user level. or like the team level. The team level, it is basically like the stories that we are talking about, right? And this is the DevOps, the basic principles. Basically, continuous exploration uses very rarely when if it is not at the scale. And in the traditional agile mode, it is like continuous integration and continuous deployment is the one which is more in use in the market actually, right? So now let's enter into the story. So now I hope like you got an idea on the how we can scale and what is the importance of the agile and various aspects that we need to consider when we are working at scale in the industry. And we can take any example for that matter and many use cases around it. So data science and DevOps, so that you got some idea. So don't forget any framework that comes with the principles, values, and practices. Even when you look at here, you can see like principles, values, and then all the best practices that they follow. So engineering maturity of the organization with which that you are going to work, understanding, having a thorough understanding on the engineering maturity is very important when you attend to any kind of interviews, irrespective of whether it is data science or DevOps roles, right? And you need to understand what are all the different tools, the techniques that they are using, and what is the process that they are following, and kind of what is the team structure? Is it hierarchical or is it like they have their own structure of organization? So knowing all these things adds great value to you. And obviously, you need not to worry or by heart all these principles, values, and practices, but knowing this adds value to you to grow in the senior management or like in the ladder, like the senior management roles, right? So now, okay, and now we are entering into the critical phase from where actual data comes in the market. Like you are about to start a role in as a data scientist in one of the companies, right? So from where you can get the data? What is the source of the data? And how many types of data available in the market in general? Anyone?
Yeah, actually, the data might be like historic data, and also the even we'll be doing some research to get this data specific to that domain or project.
Prasad, you want to add something here? If you are speaking, you are on mute, Prasad. Okay. Yeah, let's do this. Actually, in general, data can be categorized into two. One is public data and the second one is private data. So where can you get the public data sets, right? So actually, like, let's say if you want to transform your career from different roles that you are working on to the data scientist role. So you need to play with the data sets for sure, because you should know what is the source of the data and from where the data comes. So usually the data sets that comes from all the government and public data available in here, data.gov. Followed by the country name. Let's say like if it is UK, it is UK, right? So you can get all the public data sets from here. And if it is a Singapore, SG, you can get like all the data, those are the Singapore. So you can see like all the beautiful analytics performed, right? And they are presenting on various aspects of the Singapore, like various initiations and the mechanics that they are following. And for only US, it is just like data.gov. And rest all it comes with same data.gov.in India, right? Okay, it is far, so it's taking some time. But anyway, yes. So this is one set of data, and the second one is private, right? Private is very specific to the organization based on the data that they collect from the customer to serve the customers. which is like, for example, banking industry, when you take it, the data that they collect from the customers is from for fulfilling the loan, for example. So all the loan applications is a data on which they have to perform the data analytics to see in the future if someone applies for the loan, whether the applicant can default or not. So this is one use case. And like that, real estate, all the data of the housing prices need to be collected, and obviously perform some data analytics on that and develop some machine learning models to see in the future or to predict the future pricing value or like future value of the house by deploying this model. So this morning, actually, we attended for one of the good session as Prasad recommended, the Docker session. So obviously, like that's how it's going to happen, right? So you need to collect the data. And when you collect the data, why do you think that the data cleaning is required? Can someone say that? Share your opinion on that.
Data cleaning is essential just because the whatever data we get actually from various sources, it may not be accurate actually. So unless it could be unstructured data. So that data, unless we clean it up and put it in a proper format, actually whatever we desire, it can't be actually processed further.
Excellent, excellent. So in general, always when we collect the data, any organization or even publicly available data, there are two things. One is mandatory and the second one is optional, right? So usually when, let's say I am in the hurry of applying to the loan, and out of 100 fields, only 10 fields are mandatory to get my loan approved. Do I really bother to fill 100 fields? No, right? So obviously I fill only the mandatory 10 fields wherever the star I can see, and then submit the application. But whereas in the system, the loan system, you can see all the 100 fields, though it is useful or not useful, or it might be futuristic view that they incorporated, and that might not be useful for them to take the decision. So obviously, as a data scientist, the first step that we need to understand is the source of the data and the value that we are going to derive from the data based on the availability of the data. So meaning like you need not to pump like all the 100 fields to the system where it can be overload, because we are talking about some billions and billions of the records where terabytes of data pumping into the system, and the model's performance can be drastically degraded and the infrastructure cost might be like shooted up. So we definitely has to do data cleaning, and at the end, garbage in is garbage out, right? So if you pump the all the 100 fields, which doesn't make any sense, and at the end, the predicting capability of the models is going to degrade a lot. So no point of pumping the garbage in. And why do we need to do exploratory data analysis? Now we did like, okay, we know that our data is somehow crap and we have to do some data cleaning activities, such as like identifying the missing values and see like whether we can upfront remove some of those columns which are not necessary. And somehow like you can use mean, median, mode, whatever the approach that you believe that it can add value to your organization or your initiation. And at the same time, you need to do some data exploratory analysis. Why we have to do this? Other than the imputation, the missing value treatment, and so on.
What's the question, Kalyan? I didn't understand.
Sorry, this is Rajesh anyway. It's exploratory data analysis that I'm talking about. So we did data cleaning, and why do we need exploratory data analysis to perform on the data?
Exploratory data analysis, why we do this? Because we need to understand what kind of data we have, like kind of distribution we have, and so how the data is scattered, how the data is distributed basically. And based on that, we need to take out actually some insights, and unless we understand how the data is, we cannot create any models out of it.
Excellent.
That's my
Excellent.
perception.
That's correct. Yes. And data cleaning is about treating the missing values and so on. Like once you arrive to the conclusion that yes, these are the 15 fields going to add, or 15 columns or of the data is going to add great value to your to derive a function that you are planning for. Out of that 15, is there any further analysis that we can make out? And Matplotlib is one of the famous or well-known library in the Python that you can use for the exploratory data analysis. And the greatest and the most useful tip that here is identifying the outlier and treating the outliers, because outliers always cause the models to skew to some either right or left, actually, right? So that depends. So like, let's say if you are in a conference room, and Bill Gates and all his Microsoft employees, at least senior executives of his organization or Microsoft organization employees are in the conference room. And if you want to derive what is the average salary or like range of salary that the senior executives is going to get in that particular conference room, if you include even Bill Gates' assets and revenue, then obviously your model never learn the pattern and it will go wrong when it derives the range, because the range of Bill Gates is always considered as an outlier. So outlier is something that which is too high or too low on the model that you are trying to work on, right? So you need to work on the perfect, or like not even perfect. It's basically like close to reliable to derive the meaningful information from that. So exploratory data analysis is very important when you perform your data analytics. And obviously for that, you can even look at this Power BI. This is one of the dashboard that we developed as a POC to one of the clients, basically. So here, this is going to be very useful other than the Python libraries that you use, and where you can use the Excel as an input. And obviously you cannot arrive to any conclusion by looking at this data. And you can see various aspects of this data, how you can come to the decisions based on the, like to perform certain data analytics on top of it. So to perform exploratory data analysis, even Power BI, Tableau might be like even more useful as a reporting tool. And at the same time, you can use the power of Tableau to perform certain kind of exploratory data analysis as well. And after the data cleaning and everything, if you want to do it, you can always do it in the Python, right? So any questions so far?
I think no.
Great. And then what is feature engineering? Now we got our data, we perform a lot of analytics around it, and we treated all the null values and missing values, and we arrived what are the most useful data that can be useful for us. And then now what we did, we identified the outliers and we treated it. And what is the purpose of feature engineering now? And why do we need to develop the feature engineering pipeline?
Feature engineering, you might have actually 1,000 kinds of features, which may not be required actually for creating a model. So what we need to do is actually, we need to find out actually what do we have correlations within the features, or actually do we need all the features for creating a model? All these comes under feature engineering.
Excellent. Yes. So as we said, like out of 100, now we are into the 15. So we narrowed down into the 15 columns, which are quite useful for us. And out of 15, there might be some features that might be highly correlating. For example, one-to-one correlation, oil and gas versus to the gold, right? So if you pump these two as a features to derive a value of commodity, some other commodity, or like the commodity's future value, it is going to add more burden again, or more load on the system, or like when we try to perform train, validate and testing of the models. So the best way is to predict what are all the features, those are highly correlated, and choose one of those as a feature, and rather than taking both as the features, right? So the correlation is one of the key thing, as Prasad mentioned. And of course, you need to identify what are the features, those are going to add more value to fulfill your function. For example, if you want to predict a value of a house, like for example, having the street lights is one of the feature that you are thinking whether it is going to add value or not. And you should be limited to only 3 features. Let's say like that's the constraint of your infrastructure, where you can train your models on the 3 features sophisticatedly. So then there are other features called the prime location, nearby school and nearby hospitals, and obviously the street lights. So these are the four. On these four, if you want to choose, I obviously say like, okay, having streetlights helps as a feature to derive the value of the house. But at the same time, the other three features are very important for me. Right? So obviously you need to consider these three features as a major consideration to train your model because of the infrastructure difficulties that you have and infrastructure limitations that you have. And at the same time, to avoid the load on the models or load on the servers and to derive the meaningful information. At the end, if we won't achieve the business value by our models, we lost. No point of doing all these exercises. Right, and the machine learning algorithms. So why, as a data scientist, you should know like what are all the different machine learning algorithms available in the market, and those are going to be like add value to you, and how does it matters? Anyone? Shiva, Prasad? Yeah, Prasad.
It all depends on the type of data what we have. Actually, we need to justify actually what machine learning algorithm actually fit into for generating the model. See, for categorical data, actually we might use actually some of the models which we don't use for numerical data. It all comes from the business case, I would say.
Exactly. So knowing what we are trying to do is an important, and knowing what we are going to use is again like important task, right? Let's say, as Prasad said, like categorical data. So when we are dealing with the categorical data, it is categorizing the data either yes or no, or like sometimes if it is unlabeled data, it is clustering of the different customers. And kind of if it is numerical predictions that we are going to make by using our models, then you need to know what are all the regression models available in the market. And if it is dealing with the images, that's let's say you are going to work with the NASA project or any satellite image processing processing related business, then obviously in that organization, they are expecting skills of like CNN from you, convolution neural network. And if you are dealing with the chatbots or any free text kind of interactive data, then they might be expecting NLP, the natural language processing uh, expertise from you. So by knowing the industry, what they are trying to do, and you might be like in a position to say what sort of algorithms, as a data scientist, you should know what sort of algorithms that they might be using behind the scenes. If you have connections, better to learn from them. If you don't have connections, also by knowing the business nature and by knowing the job description, you might be in a position to see like what are all the things that you need to brush up, because you might be learning several things as part of day in to day out, right? So it's not that everything that we remember. And before you go and face the client to pitch in either your project or your proposals, you should know what is their business nature. Or if you are applying for the job also, it is very critical to understand why this job description and why, I mean, what might be the client's expectations. By knowing what are the different algorithms available in the market and continuous evaluation happens around it, it will be easy to you to present yourself as an expert and going to be value add, and how you are going to be value add to the client at the end. So machine learning algorithms, just like go and keep searching what are the machine learning what are the different machine learning algorithms available in the market, and what is the purpose of each machine learning algorithm, and how does it works? Because sometimes the questions goes in a way that how do you measure the performance, and how do you penalize the models, and how do you make sure that it won't be either overfit or underfit. So kind of like understanding these, while in the process of understanding various algorithms, you might be coming through all this terminology. Using right terminology to the client is always important, because you can align with the client's expectations, right? In that way. So just make sure that you understand what is overfitting, underfitting, ensemble models, whatever. Like there are several things, those comes every day. So keep an eye on that. And by being in the different forums, as a member, that will be helpful to you actually to get into that. And of course, like you need to derive the ensemble models. That's a key factor that you need to learn. And binary trees, random forest, whatever you can name it out, right? It might be outdated at some point in time, but the concepts remain same. At the end, you have to give the best fitting model, neither overfit nor underfit models, to help the client's business. And obviously deep learning and big data, it is again same. So basically, like as I said, the CNN, RNN comes into this, all the neural networks comes into the deep learning process, and big data is very legacy and traditional way. I think you can add some points here. It's basically like the way how you save the data, store the data, and how you perform the analytics on top of that comes into consideration when we talk about the big data. Like for example, Hadoop, a different distribution of, I mean, like file distribution system, right, where it saves the data in a different way. And there are different methodologies now that the data can save because of NoSQL databases. Those are evolving in the cloud, and so on. So better to keep an eye. What are the different technologies evolving to store the data, retrieving the data, performing analytics on top of that, and deriving meaningful information from that, and what are the different way of models that we can develop based on the data that we have. And of course, industry use cases that you can always focus on as well. Right? So any questions so far?
Hi, Rajesh. Can you hear me?
Hi, Pradeep. Hi, Pradeep. Yes,
Hey,
hi.
I was late to the party. Sorry for that.
No worries.
So I understand data science and data mining and all this has actually evolved of late for the past 10 years, maybe. Right before that, we were all like running behind Excel sheets, trying to sort out, trying VLOOKUPs, and I've been working for banks since my inception as my career. So. See, I've seen spreadsheets, I've seen access databases, I've seen Tableau tool. I think I didn't work on that. Like what should I say, in quite depth. All right, but what I have observed is there is a kind of sort of a shift which we are trying to implement into the business. Okay. However, the catch here is the business with whom we are dealing with. Okay, are so attached to just give me an Excel sheet. I don't want to see all this. Okay, so and at the same time, even I'm comfortable with Excel sheets. Okay, and is there a way? Okay, any low hanging fruit of a course or something? I'm actually asking you an easy way out. Let me put it this way. Okay, the reason why I'm asking that is, in order to learn this data sciences, there is a hell of a lot of maths which need to be implemented. I mean, like you need to have a mathematical brain. Where do I get that from at the age of whatever I am right now? I am.
Exactly.
So I know this question is like kind of haunting for many of the people, and probably that's the reason many people did not join this call also. That's what I'm seeing. There are only 5 participants, and
Yeah.
so basically that's what I'm talking. I entered into a data sciences course back when I was in India. Okay, I spent decent amount of money and time on it, and later kind of I couldn't do it because maybe if only I would have spent some more time, it could have been done. But with there are multiple parallel things which happen, right? So that's what I'm saying. Is there any kind of a simple course which would put me into a track and later give me an on job experience sort of a thing or something which would kind of put me into a track of data sciences? Because if I need to understand AI, I need to understand data sciences to a different level. So me being a product manager, if I need to do a shift in the sense, not exactly in the career path, but at least in the future, 5 or 6 years down the line, if I'm not kind of sort of knowing at least what is AI or data sciences, can't do it. I can't move forward is what my feeling is. So is there something on those lines?
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting question, and this is the
It's not.
difficulty that I faced most of the times, even in my role. In fact, my experience is most of the times on the banking side, and our clients are capital markets and banks, basically like camps, banks who are working in the capital markets. And you can see that, for example, if you take the market risk, right? So to identify or to come to the market, the exposure or at portfolio level, we have like very traditional way of or legacy way of doing all these calculations. As I said, one is on the Excel side. And of course, they must be like habituated with some of the dashboards where they are quite comfortable to filtering and arriving to the decisions. So when we introduced our new products, kind of like on the data science side and kind of visualizations by using Power BI, Tableau, as you said, like, and ClickView, and so on. Obviously, there must be some resistance that we can expect from the users because they need to learn the new things. And some of the users, they are keen on the latest technologies and they are okay with that, right? So usually what we do is we conduct the workshops to the users, and most of the times we try to explain the exact activities what they are trying to do at their end as part of the BAU, like on the regular basis, and what are the additional value that they are going to get because of this product. I mean, the resistance comes into consideration only when the users are not aware on what's the value add that it is going to bring on board. If we just throw the tool to them and say like start using it from tomorrow, obviously there must be some resistance. So we continuously try to engage them, and when we discuss about user requirements, we try to present all these kind of things. Obviously, you must be following this, and you can still see some resistance from them. And over the period of time, they appreciate the value that it is going to bring on board. Surely they start adopting to the new technologies and they start loving it. So it's not going to happen overnight for sure, Pradeep. Yeah.
Agreed. The problem with the technology is the version on which you're working today is kind of going to change in a span of a month. Gone are those days when Java used to release its versions like 2 or 3 years down the line. Okay,
True.
fair enough. Yeah, do let me know if there is any sort of a kind of a course where anywhere where if it's in LinkedIn or anywhere. I did search for it, but there are tons. Nowadays, search is a big word, so you get a ton of them, and you don't know which one to pick up. So if there is any course in your view or somewhere where we can properly invest time.
I can suggest Pradeep.
Yeah, Prasad garu cheppandi. Oh, sorry. Yeah, tell me.
I can suggest you, Pradeep.
There must be a lot of courses very business focused. So obviously, yes, Prasad garu, you can also keep posting, and I can share some of those courses where you can see like the nitty-gritties and high level business focused AI.
Yeah.
So that can be useful.
I would
to the
reach.
management.
Yeah, Prasad garu lives like stone throws distance from my place. Yeah.
So
his
yes,
window broke
so
the
you
other
can
day.
always talk to him. And
Yeah.
and obviously, like, yes, this is continuously evolving, and being in those kind of forums might be helpful. And just having quick look on the discussions, those are happening in the forums, and obviously, like getting some insights from there might be like greatly helpful compared to
Agreed, Rajesh.
learning.
Honest answer is the problem is in these forums you have these big shots who are like sort of kind of genius in data sciences, and you end up looking like a fool in those calls. Like, so I generally I hear and leave. I don't ask any doubts. I hear and leave. But yeah, what you said is right. We do get decent amount of insights there.
Yeah, that's correct. Actually, I mean, when I started my machine learning, artificial intelligence journey, and obviously all the terms that they use is like very different compared to our legacy systems, right? When they start using like data sets and machine learning models and fine tuning parameters and whatever, all the nonsense. And then like over the period of time, you really can habituate or like understanding the terminology that they are using. And obviously we can present ourselves as an expert by picking up data from various conversations actually. Right. And obviously continuous practice is also helpful, but for you at your level, I don't think like knowing technicalities is not a great deal or like greatly helpful. And knowing technology evaluations might be super helpful. And of course, like in our organization, when we were doing for one of the American client, US client, So we used
Yeah.
to have like the research team, ML research team. So in your capacity, if your budget allows you to hire 1 or 2 resources to perform like market research on whatever the latest evolutions happened in the latest technologies, please do so that like they are going to be like super handful to you. So usually like we used to
Yeah.
do that, like 1 or 2 persons who are very passionate in learning the market evaluations, and they are the ones who comes back and always feeds us at our free time,
We
and then we know like how to pitch into that to the senior management actually.
we have a team doing that, already.
Exactly. So it's
So
always like arrange some meeting with them or like take out them for the coffee and all. So usually what I used to do when we were doing our US project, all the salespersons from the different regions, they comes up with their kind of like requirements of the clients that they are asking for. And all the asks used to consolidate and look at in a way that what are the key deliverables that we can make for that particular sprint or program increment. And we need to involve all these research team to see like what are the technical feasibilities and evaluations happens in the market and how best we can leverage on this. So obviously, as it is their role, they have to explain, and obviously we need not to, we can ask any question to them because we are treating them as an experts, and we know that we are at the target side, not at the source side. So we can seek all the information that it is required, and that's the best way to deliver high quality, actually like high value to the clients. Actually. And of course, to
Agreed.
ask the questions, we should know like what questions to ask. That's anyway over the period of
Yes.
time we will get it.
Yeah, that's again, you never know, what's a good question or bad question. The problem is
Exactly.
when you're actually talking at different forums. Yeah, I understood. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I'll get in touch with Prasad Garu. I'll become a data scientist very soon then.
Yeah, that's the best way. I think like starting with the data visualization. So I think I just showed something. Learning these kind of skills, right? It will be helpful. Meaning knowing what is the source of data. Obviously, as you are in the industry, it should be like a private data. It is available, and source of data, different tools that they are using, and where that is storing, and how you can retrieve, and how you can present, how you can perform analysis, and what are the different tools around it. So knowing that might be like helpful. And obviously knowing of what are all the different machine learning, deep learning models that those are evolving in the market. And obviously Python is considerably super good as of now because of use community that they have. And obviously it's deriving a lot of value as well in the industry. And even specific to the banking, we develop a lot of pricing models by using the simple libraries. When you asked about the mathematics question, right? It's definitely need not to go back to the statistics, probabilities, distributions, and all. But obviously, those are all known to us. And the specific libraries in the market, for example, scikit-learn, if you take it, or NumPy, whatever. So those are very useful libraries which can serve 90% of your job. It's just like an Excel. Again, in the Excel, you got like different functions that you use, right? So all those different functions can be used even in the Python, just like a freehand, basically. Like. So rather than what I believe is rather than entering into the technical nitty-gritties of the statistics, better to understand the probabilities that it is talking about and the distributions and how it comes to that kind of conclusions by looking at the data at the senior level. And obviously there must be technical team who need to do all these kind of statistics and data analytics around it. And they must be good
They
in
will, they will,
algorithms,
Rajesh. See,
actually.
see, eventually you will have a team doing all this. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the catch is, in order to identify if anything is not in place, you need to know a little bit of what they're doing as well. So that little bit is what I'm trying to kind of get a view of. Yeah.
Yes. I can share some course anywhere around it.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Thank you.
Okay, and you can always connect with Prasad Garu. So Prasad Garu is always like you said, like he's just beside your home or whatever, right? So great.
Yeah. He's
so now
the data scientist. Yeah. Okay.
He's the data scientist. So okay. So and as I said, like again, working on some personal projects is going to be very useful to understand on the technology side and technical side. And you can always see what's the best that you can do. If whatever that I'm showing in this complete session, it's all from my desktop. So basically you can do in your PC itself, need not to have any servers or whatever. So you can connect the data. Like for example, this Power BI desktop version got like you can connect to any sort of data. There are connectors and APIs available so that you can connect and play around with it to derive meaningful information and develop some sort of these kind of dashboards and see like what you can do about it. So you can always filter and see how these changes and all that. There are very basic courses available in Udemy anyway. And at the same time, you need to understand the DevOps, right? So now, okay, now we are going to enter into that. And before to that, like you work on the personal projects within your PC and see like what you are trying to derive by taking like advanced technologies into consideration. And open source projects and contributing to the open source projects, most of us definitely doesn't have time to contribute to the open source projects. I can agree with that. Even to present this is the high level presentation that I prepared in the last minute. And obviously, like we have our own client commitments and back-to-back meetings day in to day out. But at the end, contributing to open source projects helps you to connect with the experts in the market. So that way, like you can always gain great knowledge on what's happening in the market. And when it comes to the business use cases, we can present ourselves as an expert to provide architectural solutions to the clients actually. Right. And again, online data science competitions. This I recommend to very freshers, kind of like college grads, where they can contribute themselves or compete in the online data science competitions to present themselves as an expert, so that like all the it's a kind of like platform where we can see the entrepreneurs are always looking for the experts in the market. And if someone presents themselves as better in these forums, so there are high chances that you can be hired directly for their requirements. So you need not apply for the positions also. Sometimes even I approach many of them whenever we got some requirements to see like if they can help us as a freelancers. And sometimes even we approach them for some of our client requirements as well. So we always look at in these forums, either open source projects, the contributors, and or like online data science competitions where someone can present themselves as an expert. Right. And now we are entering into the DevOps. Any questions so far? I think data science side, there is nothing much. I think nowadays everyone knows what is data science looks like at high level at least. So why DevOps and what are the different tools that we are using in the DevOps? Can someone say something about it? Pradeep Garu, are you using like the agile delivery methodology, or it's still waterfall in your organization?
Well, as I spoke earlier, we work with across. Now it's 26 teams I'm working with. So out of which close to 7 to 8 teams, I guess they work in waterfall method. It's nothing there. It's my team works in agilized waterfall. So let me put it that way.
Any waterfalls mostly? Yeah.
No, not waterfall, not waterfall. For sure, we've forced most of the teams to fall into the agile methodology. And yeah, so basically, and interestingly, it's also like 10-15% of DevOps as well, I should say. So we invite our developers as well. Myself, I was a developer. Now I'm a product manager. So I understand decent bit of coding and stuff when people try to kind of give me a bouncer stating that this takes 8 story points. So like, okay, I understand where you're coming from. So those kind of things. Yeah, it's agilized waterfall, I should say. So some teams work on waterfall because some teams like data management and stuff, warehouse management and all, they really don't work on agile methodology. They don't prefer working on agile methodology.
Yeah, that's again some resistance because of the legacy way of working that they habituated or like inherited since long, right? So
it's all politics there. We can't really help anything.
Yeah, so in fact, like even when we started transforming from waterfall to the agile for one of the major initiations to the local bank in Singapore, we always say we are delivering this in the agile methodology. whereas we always speak about daily stand-ups, sprints, and blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to actual deliveries, it is mini waterfall. So we always like divide and conquer all the requirements based on the different functions and try to deliver those functions in a mini waterfall way. So it's obviously as part of the transformation, to come to that engineering maturity to the level where we can completely agile, it takes time, at least to the legacy way of companies or organizations, it takes some time. And like the companies or like to the startups, it is super easy to adopt to the agile because they start from the scratch actually. So when we are working with the startups, we feel more comfortable. In fact, like when we try to start any of our projects, we start directly with the Jira. And we never ever speak about like all the functional specs, technical specs, and the user requirements and whatever, right? So we always talk about user stories directly.
User stories, that's another big mess of things. So yeah, that's okay. Yeah, as I told you, unless and until you make your hands dirty. So the reason why I asked, in my earlier question, what is happening if you don't get your hands dirty into it, when I say dirty,
We
really
don't know.
dirty,
Yeah.
you'll not know what's happening. So what will happen
Exactly.
is, end of the day, I think that's one of the major drawbacks with waterfall, right? You don't know what the developer is doing till the end of the thing. So yeah, that's where it is.
Exactly. So having that engineering maturity and the right team with the right mindset, and of course, leadership always comes into picture. And the support from the leadership is like very important to transform from legacy waterfall to the advanced agile methodologies. And obviously, even I can see when I deliver these kind of talks about waterfall versus agile, I can see a lot of resistance from the old generation who they must have seen like great value add from the waterfall. It's not that they haven't seen it, and they might not be failing to, or they might be failing to understand what are the latest customer expectations of the markets sometimes, as they don't want to transform into that mindset at least.
Yeah,
So
these are the kind of people. So when I talk to some of the SMEs, okay, these are the kind of people who still prefer to walk into a bank and cash their check.
exactly, they don't
So
believe
these
in the internet itself.
they don't believe in change, and there's also a survival factor, right? If you are a basic waterfall person, what you do is you'll end of the day kind of sit and code in the last 1 month, and the first 5 months you kind of code for the previous projects. So
True.
it's all about survival, isn't it?
Survival, exactly, and survival and the growth mindset, and obviously like that depends. So it's all to the individual or the power that the leadership team holds and the politics, as you said, like corporate politics always plays.
Yeah, that's where your technology team kind of struggles to
Has to be agile.
manage stuff. Yeah, no, not agile. Agile is a
So
very big, small word. Yeah, go on. Somebody's trying to talk, and I.
yeah, please. Prasad, you want to add something here? Siva,
No, it's
Hamad,
okay.
sorry.
No, I don't have anything.
Okay, great. And Hamad, Sivagaru.
No, Satish.
Okay, great. And now let's do this. So actually now we are in the process of understanding what is data science and what are the, I mean, like how we can deliver at scale and so on, right? And now how you can achieve this in an agile world. And of course, what are all the tools those are using by the organization? And obviously it has, all the story has to start from the collecting the user requirements, because we are always delivering the value to the end user or to the customer. As long as if we fail to deliver the value to the customer, there is no point of existence of our organization, right? Our industry itself. So, and that's where we use something called Jenkins, sorry. And before to that, you can use the Jira to collect and track your user requirements. And don't forget, this is at very team level I'm talking about. If you are working at the portfolio level, or if you are working at the program level, Kanban is the best tool that you can use to capture and track the progress of the value that we are delivering to the user. And whereas Jira is very team focused, And of course, it's got those functionalities as well, but it's very not that matured at this point in time. So you might be seeing this like most of the times in our daily stand-ups, where you can see these kind of dashboards. You can see like some of the tasks in to do and some of the tasks in progress and some of the tasks in done, right? So in our vaccination example, like your portfolio at your organizational level, you need to deliver 10 millions of vaccinations for this year, and budget is allocated. And that is again in the pure agile world, it should be participatory budget that they have to work on, and the budgetary should be happen once in quarter, and your vision or your organization vision has to be set by the senior leadership team only for that particular quarter. And that converts into the strategic themes, and that strategic themes converts into the portfolio backlog, as you've seen just now. And that portfolio backlog purely covers about the enablers and as well as the features that you are going to deliver as part of the delivering this vaccination to the end customer. What are all the features that this particular vaccination should have, and how should it I mean like up to what level of variance that this vaccination has can cover as of today in the market, and at least by the time it hits the market, right? That is down to the line 1 quarter. And now you got your feature set, and that flows into the program level, as I said just now. And what do anyone or like can anyone share what does it mean by enabler in this case, and who are all the enablers, and what teams comes under enablers team in the data science world, DevOps side, whatever, like you can name it out.
In DevOps side, it will come as engineering, like development team.
Yeah, any infrastructure team comes as the enablers basically. So they are the ones that like we need to get ready with the sophisticated infrastructure to work on anything, any initiation, right? And nowadays anything is technology. It's not like even banks when we talking about now neo banks, for example, if you take it, and there is no physical banks existing and everything done by the technology itself. So we should have sophisticated infrastructure available, and enablers is the one who acts as a catalyst and kind of like the prerequisites to make sure that the environment is ready to start the game. So as part of even portfolio level, you should know like what are all the different enabler teams that need to get ready to start this initiation. And obviously they are the ones who takes care about the infrastructure and at various stages. So this is the prerequisite before you start your PI planning itself, and you should know by when your infrastructure should be ready to start the game. Otherwise, like just getting the team onboarding and adding overhead to the overhead cost to the organization won't help you. And the specific reason why we need enablers, because the time box is very limited in the agile world, and irrespective of it is data science or any other industry. And obviously DevOps is greatly helping to accelerate these kind of initiations because of the maturity. Again, like the organization should have like engineering maturity in place to achieve or to reap maximum benefits from the DevOps. Right. So again, like now we are at the portfolio level and move to the program level. As I said, like these are all the features and enablers that comes under the program backlog. And at the team level, it's user stories is something that we are going to discuss now. So if you are going to work on the user stories, definitely Jira is one of the best tool and adopting by the industry very exponentially. And obviously, I believe like almost all the agile industry using this. And at the same time, at the portfolio level and program level, Kanban is something that it is widely using in the market. So at least getting an idea on these might be like super helpful to you. And when it comes to here, and obviously, like as I said, Agile got its own principles that you need to follow. And obviously, Scrum is one of the best method that can be helpful to you to start with the new products. So for the new product development, Scrum is the best framework that you can use. And Jira is one of the supporting tool which can easily adopt to the Scrum methodology. So all the story starts here. Now here, like at the user level for the research and development team, So there are different user stories that we can build here, so that can sustainable or like so that like, for example, the research and development team, if they are working on the data science side, they should be knowing what category of the citizens that their focus is supposed to be, and who are all highly vulnerable citizens that they have to focus for this particular program increment. As I said just now, like in our banking case, we need to focus on the clients and who are all the valuable clients to whom we need to serve for this program increment. And based on that, we create our own backlogs, program backlogs, and then our team level backlogs. And in similar way, in our vaccination example, we should know like who are all the highly vulnerable citizens and how we can help them by creating or like prioritizing. Of course, there is a method called WSJF, work short job first. That's again we will cover later. So, but obviously that helps in identifying the value that we are going to deliver to or like to prioritize which feature can give to deliver high value to the customer. So WSJF is one of the best method that we can use for that way. And obviously now you are at the delivery side, and you should know like you just create. I mean, like obviously there must be team who can work for you, or sometimes it is agile team itself who can create these JIRAs. So it need not to be like comes from either your project manager, program manager, because there is no such concept in the agile world. So usually there's scrum master who lies with you most of the times at the team level, and this backlog owned by the product owner. Right, at the team level, it's owned by the product owner, and at the program level, it will be product management team. So you should know this hierarchy as well very well when you are in there. So, and again, this one to practice, obviously this tool, it comes from the Atlassian. This is open source. You can always download it and play around with it. And there are several ways that you can automate how you can import these JIRAs and user stories. And obviously there are several programming techniques that you can use to move bulk tasks into different statuses. So when you look at this, yes, as a project every day, what happens as part of the sprint, like, okay, yeah, social media handlers and engagement, the marketing has to be done for this particular sprint. And obviously we can move it to the done once it is done. And every day in the daily stand-up, we can understand clearly what are the only blockers, and obviously we shouldn't focus on the deliveries, right? So, yeah, Pradeep, go ahead, please. Hello.
So sorry, Rajesh, not to you. I didn't know I was unmuted. Yeah.
Okay, great. So basically, like this is one of the tools that you need to get familiar. And again, as I said, like here, you can write or like define your backlogs, your personal projects. This is like for the personal projects I am presenting it to you. So you can track your work from here. So you can always create your own issues, and you can create your own backlog and add these issues to the backlog and move it to the sprints, and then make sure that it will be in the different statuses, and learn like in the real time how it happens actually. And the GitHub, okay, let's go back to my presentation. So here all the story starts from, as I said, like Jira. And once you have your Jira ready, so you should know how to get the master branch to your local branch, right? So obviously the Git Bitbucket is greatly helpful, and GitHub is one of the public source controlling system or source managing system that helps you. And obviously Bitbucket, GitHub, and all these things are developed on top of the Git. So Git is basically version controlling methods or mechanics that those were derived or passed in the 2001, if I'm not wrong. And on top of that, Bitbucket and GitHub are the ones which provides certain tools and user interfaces for us to manage the version controlling. So if you can look at this continuous integration, of course, here continuous exploration is not added because that's for the scaled agile. And in the normal agile world, these are the things that we discuss always about, like continuous integration, continuous delivery, and continuous deployment. So to achieve, I mean, like to achieve these, we should have the sophisticated infrastructure in place. As I said, like Jenkins is one of the key integration tool that you can again like set up in your local system. Of course, do you want to learn something about Dockers here, or it should be okay?
Yeah, I think we
Or-
can proceed. Anyhow, Dockers will come in this pipeline itself, right? Wherever we will create the pods, deploy, and then run the scripts in the Docker.
Exactly. So this is basically running in the containers, and obviously, like we got our Docker containers got from the GitHub, and we set up everything here so that like you can always set up your what it's called local instances to play with, and make sure that this is not running from your original OS. Just to let you know here, as a Docker concept, it should be running. It's got its own operating system, file system, databases to work on, right? So just in case if you want to integrate your scripts directly with DevOps, it will be quite difficult for you. I mean, it's not quite difficult. It won't work. And you need to go and set up all the things in your container, meaning all the prerequisite software should be installed in your container, and that container should be up and running. Otherwise, it will be really difficult. Okay. So now you got this, and obviously you can run on your pipelines, and when you click on your dashboard, as I said, like you can do it at scale, but in your personal practice, so you can always see what you can do for each category that I created lines here. So build, package, and test. And obviously, these are the 3 steps that we need to perform over irrespective of it, what scale that we are working on. Okay, so your build should be like compatible, and it need to be tested, and then only it can pass it to the pack, and it can be packaged and delivered to the GitHub. So that part anyway, the technical nitty-gritties, I will let our technical team to work on this later, and we'll let you know how does that works. And we can schedule another meeting for that actually. Okay, and any questions here? So basically there are 3 things that you need to know. One is managing your source. That can happen at the GitHub or like at the Git technologies. And at the same time, delivering value. And that can happen at your pipeline level. And at the same time, you need to know the place where you need to deploy, right? So the deployment platforms, which can give you the best fit solutions. Because like, again, you need to be very careful when you are choosing your deployment platforms. You shouldn't be either overfit or underfit in this case as well. Because if your requirement is to serve to the 100 customers, and if your infrastructure, if you procure infrastructure of which can support like 100K customers, then you are making like overburden or like burning the funds of the organization. And at the same time, if you are if the volume of your customers is like around 100K, and if you are giving like very tight fitted infrastructure which can support only 10K, then again you are losing the business opportunity there. So identifying and coming to that sweet spot is again important actually. Right. And again, IAC is very important thing that you need to understand. If you are at the senior level and trying to present to your senior management on the advantages that they are going to get, because you can scale your infrastructure by using IAC based on the demand. Let's say as of today, your customers are like customer base is 1,000 customers. And whereas like your demand surged because of some celebrity tweeted about your product, like let's say Elon Musk, always in the news. So he tweeted by saying that, wow, digital disruption product is super good and I'm liking it. Or like he always sarcastically post it, right? Now it's all digital disruption, something like that. And then all of a sudden, like the volume of the customers is going to increase, and then you should be in a position or ready to increase the infrastructure that can support that kind of volume. So that's where IAC comes into picture, infrastructure as a code. And for that, like these are the popular coding techniques that you can use: Terraform, Puppet, and Chef. Right, and these are anyway cloud technologies. Everyone knows about it in recent days. And then you need to make sure how feasible it is to deploy or maintain all these pipeline at a scale. And at the same time, how compatible it is or how easy it is to present to the user. Because like, let's say if we did like a lot of fancy and super good models behind the scenes, and whereas like when it is facing the customer, if there is a delay, when customer is trying to access it, gone. all the budget or all the money that you placed on the table for that until that time is gone, right? Because the customer, once he leaves, very difficult them to get back. Okay, so in this case, it is like deploying, maintaining, monitoring, and scaling applications is an important thing that you need to consider, and you need to be mastered with that. Any questions here? No? Yes?
No, Rajesh, we are good. Thanks.
Okay, great. So obviously, we need to keep up to date ourselves, as Pradeep just now said. Like by the time we go to the bed and wake up, there are several I mean, there is a lot of evolution happen in the technologies, and the different tools those were evolving, and we need to be very careful in picking and choosing these tools, because sometimes some tools and kind of technologies that evolves overnight, and if you use those kind of technologies to your product development, it is quite difficult in terms of maintenance, right? So when you try to maintain your stability of your product, and whereas like every day, if you are decommissioning some of the functions that you use as part of your product development, you will be losing the game most of the times and spending a lot of time in adopting to their or aligning to the latest uh, methodologies that they are implementing. So at least there should be some stable version, and the stable version frequency, updating that stable version frequency should be like not very near, and at the same time not too far as well. So you need to be very careful about it before when you choose what technology that you can use for your product development. Right. So with that, we covered all this pipeline. So we know like what is scaled agile now, and how the scaled agile works, and how this participatory budget works, and how we can how different sales and pre-sales team from the different regions comes together and present the budget requirements for their to deliver their values, and that budget flows into the different programs. In this case, like it is basically we can say different sprints and product management and product owners, and they are the ones who takes care about the value streams, development value streams, and that development value streams leverages on the DevOps technologies to be in the market at right time, right? And obviously adapting to the latest requirements of the customer, and being agile in developing and delivering the value to the customer. And of course, we learned even various kind of like cloud platforms available, and different ways of scaling our platform, and different technologies available to scale. And of course, as it is a machine learning models, and the data continuously changes, there must be some maintenance. In the best practice, I believe, Prasad Garu, correct me if I'm wrong, in the banks, at least like once in the 2 months, they have to revisit the performance of the model, and they have to align those things actually. And I'm not sure, like it must be like different to the different industries. So
yeah, that's right. Actually, see, some people actually follow automatic model retraining approaches. They do it.
exactly, to avoid the downtime and all. So they train all, I mean, they can pump this into the staging area. And where, I mean, that depends again on the volume. They train the model, retrain the models, and deploy with zero downtime, basically, once everything is tested. So obviously, we need to be very careful about maintenance, because it's not like done once and live for the rest of life. So we need to be continuously monitoring to give great value to the customers. Right, and this is all straightforward. These are all the different tools that you can use. As I said, like Python is one of them. And then for the data storage, obviously, like why Python? Because for the data science, it is like a huge community, and a lot of investment happening from the organizations as well, and a lot of interest derived by the different industries as well on the Python, and compared to all these the C ones actually. Right, and Scala and Julia are also good. That depends on the specific requirements where you want to use those. And data storage wise, Hadoop is a very old one, and obviously, but still powerful one because of the file system method or storage methodologies that they use. And Apache Spark, it is a wonderful open source, and you don't have any license constraints to use it. So in case if you want to go into the product development, you can always use Apache Spark for that. And NoSQL databases is again like it's a buzzword now. So because of all the unstructured data, as Prasad Garu said just now, because of IoT, it pumps a lot of unstructured data, and obviously the feeds from the social media. You have to deal with the unstructured data day in to day out. So NoSQL is one of the best way to store the data and work on it. And SQL databases, obviously, the no introduction required. Everyone should have run some query at one point in time in their career if they are into the technical side, right? So data visualizations, as I said just now to Pradeep Garu, Pradeep Garu. So that's something like Tableau is one of the best tools that you can use. But as per my understanding of the market, most of the banking sector, they are moving from the Tableau to the Power BI for non-complex reports, and kind of where there is no lot of customization required, because Tableau is very expensive in terms of licensing. And the latest requirements that digital disruption is getting is on the either ClickView or Power BI. And all the latest implementations or new initiations, banks are preferring to use Power BI because of the pricing structure that the Power BI is offering. It's very, very low, and even like common man can afford it actually. But whereas Tableau is very expensive. And D3.js, I never worked on this, but anyway, this is one of the things that I learned when it comes to the blockchain technologies integrating with the data science, and it's all about the JavaScripting behind the scenes. And ggplot2, it's about R. Matplotlib again is one of the well-known library, when like no explanation is required about it, right? So mastering all these things might be really helpful to you to present yourself as like, yes, I know all these things, and based on your requirement, I know how to present myself actually. So based on the job description, you can definitely say that, yes, I know this, and I can definitely add value to your initiations, right? So that's how it is. And machine learning frameworks, as I just mentioned, or like we discussed about it, TensorFlows, scikit-learn, obviously, this is for all the scientific calculations, and kind of the model development and validations can be done here. And PyTorch is developed by the, of course, like TensorFlow from the Google, and PyTorch is from the Facebook. And this is one of the widely using for the complex model development, actually, PyTorch. And Cafe, I never used it, but I think like this is also like, any idea on this, Prasad Garu? Cafe, why it is specialized in?
Cafe, it is actually similar to PyTorch only. Actually, it is creating a tensors and similar to that.
Okay. So it's basically for the complex model development,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yes.
And obviously, like we know, these names are very conventional, and so I hear like Cappuccino. Cappuccino is one of the visualization library, though that was publishing publishing in the market. So people, whatever that they like, they name it in the way. And sometimes back even Android versions, hamburger, and so right. So that's good. I mean, as long as if the developers are passionate, then we can hear all these kind of names: cafe, cappuccino, hamburger, and so on.
Sandwich.
Sandwich.
Android version.
Android version, correct.
Remember.
Android sandwich.
Yeah.
And that's good actually. I mean, that makes more connecting to the people. That might be one of the marketing strategy as well. I don't know.
Yeah. It's all started with Java being a coffee.
Java being a coffee, yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
So, and model deployment platforms, as I said, like Flask is one of the best one that I experienced so far, and even like most of the industry, they use Flask for the deploying their models because of the API integration facility that it is providing, and it can integrate with almost all the social medias and the kind of applications, mobile applications. There are APIs available in the Flask, and the integration possibility is very easy. So most of our teams, they prefer Flask first, and if the functionality are not offering by the Flask, then only then we can look after all the other functions. And Heroku and H2 also H2 I missed in this, but those are two again great platforms where you can deploy your model, and where given that if you don't have like two huge volumes of customers, or like the traffic is not that great actually. So those are like, though they are very sophisticated, to make it cost effective, I think Flask, Heroku, and H2 are the best deployment platforms. And obviously, if you got two huge volumes, so you can go for AWS SageMaker or TensorFlow serving from Google. And of course, Azure, they got their own machine learning models. Google Cloud AI platform, something that you can explore on basically. So algorithm, yeah, I never experienced it, but I heard it recently, so I just added it here. Any idea on algorithm? Yeah, the purpose of this.
No idea.
Yeah, so this is another
Salesforce share went down by a pound now. You know, you just said Heroku doesn't fit large scale customers. Heroku is a Salesforce
yeah,
tool,
Heroku is a Salesforce, correct? Yes.
So the moment you give these kind of statements, you never know, the sale price might go down now. Doesn't.
No, the reason why I said this, because it's not cost effective in the sense like for the startups and someone who got decent value.
I understand where you're coming from, but I was just joking. These kind of statements will
At least if I make the statement, the price might not be go down. But if it is Elon Musk, yes, immediately everyone will be like behind it, start selling their stocks actually.
Yes, you should join the Hindenburg company.
Yeah. So I think like we need to get hold of Elon Musk and make at least one statement in his tweets. That's it. Our company will be multi-billion in next few days actually. I think now there is nowhere, there is one product he recommended, right? For the secure charting. I forgot that instead of WhatsApp that he used one of the products. I forgot it.
Don't tell me it is Telegram.
No, not Telegram. There is one more actually. And next few days, like everyone started installing and using it. And after that, no one is.
That was Telegram, right? That was Telegram.
No, not Telegram. There is one.
No, that was Signal. That was Signal.
Correct.
Signal. Yeah, Signal.
Signal. Yeah, he tweeted like Signal, no WhatsApp, just Signal and kind of. Then that's gone. So
did anybody purchase the Chat GPT membership? £59, one time £59.
No, not required. I think actually. See, we can use free chatbot.
That's closed now. That's closed now. I used it like every day for many of my things. It was very useful. But eventually now it is no more, not anymore free.
I logged into it. I used this morning also. Just try it now itself.
ChatGPT OpenAI. That's what I'm using.
Yeah, I've used it actually. Even now also.
This morning also. It is recommending to go for the £20 per month or something like that for me. I never used it because for my use anyway, basic.
Yeah, I'm using it for silly things. Okay, that's a different story. But wanted to check. Was playing around with it. It's not that.
Yeah,
I was checking how much does it know.
Yeah, actually it's good, but most of the times it's not giving accurate information, especially these technical things.
It's still, nascent. You know, two thing issues maybe, but I kind of liked it. At least for what I have to do, it saves tons of grammatical corrections and crap.
Actually, yeah, same with me. So for any presentations and all, right, to learn some of the companies and their requirements and all, it's giving like somehow closely related information, at least for me. So it's becoming super handy for me in recent days.
More than enough to look the smart one in the room. So yeah,
at least better than Google for me, at least.
Yeah, that's when people will listen to you, right? The moment you make a couple of smart statements, people will listen to you. You can at least make people do changes. It's really difficult for people to accept change these days. Yeah.
And the best part of this is like after I ask few questions related to any topic, I usually ask for like startups, growing, scaling, and all nonsense. So it understands my next question and relates to my previous questions. Actually, like Immediately, if I switch to
Yeah.
the technology also, it says like, yeah, for the startup, these are the technologies in that it need to be used and evolved and blah, 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 right?
Yeah. Now they're saying 20 pounds per month. Okay. Last
Exactly.
week, I guess, last Sunday when I realized it, I opened it and seen it. I've used it quite prevalently for something, for making a document of mine. Then it was only 59 pounds one-time charge. So I should have taken it.
That could have best offer
59.99.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah, 59.99 one-time chance. So just imagine I can keep using it for like forever.
Exactly. I think that could have the best offer, I believe, because now 20,
Yeah.
20 pounds per month is like, I feel anyway, it's not that required. I don't see that need of our anyway at this point in time.
Yeah, as long as we have Google.
I think Google, they are coming up with a new product, right? Or they released some for the some beta customers, they released some.
I
And
don't
I
know
think
about
anyway, now looks
Anyways,
like
yeah.
Google is going to be Android phone, and whereas ChatGPT is going to be iPhone. Looks like that fancy going forward.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
And obviously, ChatGPT is ChatGPT, and whereas Google is trying to now everyone is thinking that Google is trying to mimic it because ChatGPT gained the market quickly, and obviously customers are highly satisfying with this.
I think Google, they are actually in the process of development. I think they are
Yeah,
using
yeah.
a different altogether algorithms.
Exactly.
They
I mean,
are.
they released it to the beta customers. That's what I understand from the latest news.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure who are all those beta customers that they consider it. Yeah,
See,
but
anyways, we sold our
obviously,
souls. Yeah, we sold we kind of sold our souls to Microsoft, Amazon, and what's the other company? I keep forgetting it. Google. Yeah, we sold
yeah,
our souls to them. So they know our email ID, they know our date of birth. Probably Google is also storing my card information.
yeah.
And very soon it will not allow me to buy booze in the grocery store, stating that NHS doesn't allow you to buy. So that's how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the end, we need to see. I think GPT could have come up with different business plan rather than subscription plan because most of the times, with the moment they say subscription, the motivation might not be there from the customers. Rather, they could have
Yeah.
come up with the business sustainable plans, kind of like get the business on board and providing these kind of information on interest based and so on, right? Anyway, it's a legacy way of delivery or like business way, a kind of. If you take Google, right, advertisement is the major revenue for them. They never ask you to subscribe for anything, but they always collect
That's
our
the
interest
problem,
and
right,
data and sell
Rajesh?
to the
Yeah,
user.
that's the problem, right, Rajesh? So if again, there's a ton of distraction. So you put a YouTube video to see some AWS certification thing, okay? All of a sudden you'll see Simply iLearn wala ad over there.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so it's basically too much of distraction. So I'd go for a paid subscription with no stupid ads. Let me be focused.
Yeah, I mean,
I
not
don't know. At
exactly the
least I'm
same.
thought process to everybody, but yeah, agreed.
That's correct, Pradeep. I mean, like what I'm trying to say is, yes, not exactly presenting the ads. There must be different model that they could have looked for the revenue generation. Meaning, like let's say as a startup, I might be looking for resources, so who must be searching for some sort of keywords, spending most of their time in the chatbot on certain area, and they could have sell that kind of information as these are all the experts who've been searching for this one information for so many hours and so on, and where like companies are ready to pay for that because they need not to search for like again or like within that half an hour discussion, it is quite difficult for us to identify the resource capabilities, right? So at least if someone is spending 15 hours or 30 hours in a week on the chat GPT to understand some concepts, there is certain credibility on that resource that he is trying to learn. So these kind of business models might be like as a revenue generation point of view that will be helpful for them. And obviously let the users enjoy the free benefits like Google, how it is providing actually. Yeah, the advertisements is
You actually
really.
used a very big term, credibility. So I think it was Shiva who was saying, whatever information is being provided, it's not accurate. Okay, now that's another big problem, right? Earlier, what my tutor or teacher says is the, what do you call, measurement of success. If my teacher says it is wrong, it is wrong. If my teacher says India has 31 states, yes, India has 31 states. That's it. Wherever and whatever you show, it is incorrect. So
Correct. Yeah.
yeah, now data is like
It's there
we
everywhere, and it's a free flow.
yeah. We don't have to remember anything. That's the biggest problem now.
That's true.
People
And even
losing.
students now, they started using ChatGPT, and most of the universities and schools, right, they ban it. They said like
Why should you
students not to use it.
why should they not use it? You want
Because
your
of
kid
the
you want your kid to learn technology. Okay, you want your kid to be in the upmost and topmost ranks and everything. Okay, that's the new technology which everybody is learning. So it's see,
and the same reason
I know I'm trying to
basically.
play. Yeah, I'm trying to play a devil's advocate here, but that's not right. That's not right. See,
No, I
I want.
think schools and universities, they got their own reason. As Siva said, like the accuracy of the information that it is producing, right? That is
Hmm.
challenging actually. Meaning like if the student learns
So
the wrong things in the chat GPT and goes back and challenging the teachers by saying that my chat GPT is saying this and you are wrong.
so yeah, it's a
Yeah,
teacher's
so
responsibility. It's a teacher's responsibility. So you actually struck the right chord. Okay, I don't want to extend the conversation, but it's the teacher's responsibility.
true.
Okay, to say, okay, where did you find it? So this is what it is. This is incorrect.
Correct them actually. Yes, correct
Yeah,
them.
correct
And
them.
if
Correct
someone
them.
questions, that is good. And if someone's who
Yeah,
is not that expressive, and if they think that anyway teacher is wrong and ChatGPT is right, they will be in that forever actually. And might be
yeah,
the
we
end of it.
trust me. We are in an obsolete world. All of I would take a pluralistic approach here. We are all in an obsolete world. Okay, 5 or 10 years down the lane. Okay, our kids will know more technology than us. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Hello.
for sure. Yeah, that's correct actually.
Yeah,
I agree.
they'll talk more technology than what we are talking. So I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah,
No,
this is
certainly,
whatever we are
undoubtedly,
talking
that's going to
today
happen.
will not even be available
Valid
sometime
for
later.
tomorrow. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Actually. And we must be
Yeah.
like our previous generation. For example, our ancestors, when they look at the smartphones, they're surprised. And like that, we might be surprising by looking at the gadgets that our kids
Yeah.
using it actually. So we must be.
There are many
We look
things. My
like
daughter
an
walks up to me on an iPad and shows that this is there.
exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
I
That's
had the
happened.
iPad
So.
for the past 6 years, by the way. I don't know.
True, true. The exploring capacity or capabilities of the kids is always great actually, because
Yeah.
it's uncomparable anyway with us. Hey, that's
All
great.
right.
Then thank you so much, Pradeep, for joining. I think like Shiva and Prasad, they pinged me, and looks like they anyway as the session is done. They
Yeah.
left the call already. So it's great. Thanks,
All right,
Ahmad,
Rajesh.
Hamad, for joining the call, and I hope it is beneficial to you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Pradeep. Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.